It was supposed to be a simple Tuesday night. I work in data entry for a mid-sized logistics firm in downtown Chicago, which means my life is mostly comprised of fluorescent lights, ergonomic chairs, and the low hum of server fans. I don't do anything exciting. I don't climb buildings or explore abandoned hospitals. I just go home, eat whatever is in my fridge, and scroll through my phone until I fall asleep. But on that night, I had a different kind of exhaustion. It was the kind that makes you want to feel something, anything, other than the numbness of routine. That's how I ended up in the basement of the old textile mill on the south side, a place the locals called the Loom. I had found the location on a niche urban exploration forum. The photos were grainy, showing vast, empty floors with peeling paint and rusted machinery. The comments were sparse, mostly people complaining about security guards or broken glass. One user who went by Echo Walker had posted a recent update saying the back gate was loose and the interior was untouched by time. That phrase stuck with me. I wanted to see something that hadn't been touched. I wanted to see something real. I arrived around 8:30 p.m. The area was industrial, a mix of abandoned warehouses and vacant lots filled with weeds. The air smelled like wet concrete and distant exhaust. I parked my car 2 blocks away because the streetlights were out and the shadows felt heavy. I wore dark clothes, sturdy boots, and carried a small backpack with a flashlight, a bottle of water, and my phone fully charged. I told my roommate I was going to meet a friend for a late dinner. It was a lie, but it felt necessary for my own peace of mind. The entrance to the mill was exactly as described, a rusted metal gate that swung open with a screech that echoed too loudly in the quiet street. I slipped inside, pulling the gate shut behind me. The silence inside was different from the silence outside. It was thick, pressing against my ears. My flashlight beam cut through the dust motes, dancing in the air. The main floor was cavernous, with high ceilings supported by iron columns. Sunlight had long since given way to decay, but the structure was solid. I walked slowly, my boots crunching on broken glass and debris. It felt thrilling in a detached way. I took photos, careful not to flash the lens too brightly, capturing the way the light filtered through the grime-covered windows. About 40 minutes in, I heard a sound. It wasn't a ghost or a monster. It was the distinct, sharp click of a lighter. Then the smell of tobacco smoke, cheap and acrid, drifted through the air. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. Urban explorers weren't supposed to be alone, but I hadn't seen anyone else. I turned off my flashlight, plunging the immediate area into darkness, and listened. The only sound was the drip of water somewhere in the distance and my own breathing. I waited, counting to 60, then turned my light back on. The smoke was gone. The air was clear again. I told myself it was just a stray cat or a rat moving through the vents, though rats don't smoke. I decided to leave. The thrill had curdled into discomfort. As I made my way back toward the gate, I noticed my phone battery was at 12%. I needed to conserve power. I walked faster, my breath coming in short gasps. When I reached the main corridor leading to the exit, I stopped. The gate I had entered through was closed. I hadn't closed it. I had left it slightly ajar, just enough to slip through. Now, it was shut tight, the rusted latch engaged. I jiggled the handle. It didn't budge. I pulled harder, my shoulder straining against the metal. Nothing. I pulled out my phone to call for help, but there was no signal. I had been in a dead zone for the last 20 minutes, but I hadn't noticed until now. I tried to text my roommate, but the message failed to send. I was alone in a sealed metal box in the middle of an industrial district. I walked to the nearest window, a large rectangular pane of glass near the ceiling. I shone my light through it. It was reinforced with wire mesh. I couldn't break it. The glass was too thick, and I had no heavy object to throw. Then I saw the movement. In the corner of the room, near the far wall where the shadows were deepest, a figure stepped out from behind a stack of rotting pallets. It was a man, tall and thin, wearing a dark hoodie. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his phone. He held a lighter in one hand and a cigarette in the other. He took a drag, exhaled slowly, and then looked up. His eyes met mine through the dim light of my flashlight. He didn't look surprised. He didn't look angry. He looked bored. He walked toward me, his footsteps silent on the dusty floor. I backed away, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. "Hey," I said, my voice shaking. "Hey, man, the gate is locked. I can't get out." The man stopped a few feet away. He didn't speak. He just watched me, tilting his head slightly. Then he raised his hand and pointed at the gate. "It's not locked," he said. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "It's just heavy." "I tried," I said, stepping back until my back hit a cold iron column. I pulled it. It didn't move. He smiled, a small, tight expression that didn't reach his eyes. "You didn't pull it hard enough." He turned and walked toward the gate. I watched, confused and terrified, as he approached the rusted metal. He didn't try to open it. He just stood there, staring at the latch. Then, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. It looked like a key, but it was too large, too crude. He inserted it into the lock. There was a heavy clunk. The latch lifted. He looked back at me. "Come on," he said. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to fight, to do anything but follow him. But the alternative was staying in the dark with a stranger who had just demonstrated an impossible knowledge of a lock I couldn't open. I stepped forward, my legs feeling like lead. I walked past him, expecting him to hold the gate open. He didn't. He just stood there, watching me pass. I pushed the gate. It swung open easily, silently. The night air hit my face, cool and real. I stumbled out onto the pavement, gasping for breath. I didn't look back. I ran to my car, fumbled with my keys, and locked the doors. Only then did I look in the rearview mirror. The gate was closed again. The man was gone. I drove home in a panic, checking my mirrors every 3 seconds. When I got to my apartment, I threw my bag on the floor and called the police. They came out, took a report, and laughed politely when I described the gate being locked and then unlocked by a stranger who vanished. They said the mill had been condemned years ago. Said the gate had been broken for months. Said no one had been inside since. I didn't believe them. I knew what I had seen. But the worst part wasn't the fear. It was the realization that when I looked at the latch on the gate, I remembered the sound of the key turning. But I also remembered that the man hadn't been holding a key. He had been holding a cigarette. And in my hand, in my pocket, I found the lighter I had never owned. It was warm, still ticking with residual heat, and it smelled like cheap tobacco. I don't know how it got there. I don't know how he opened the gate. But I know that when I look at the reflection in the window now, I see someone standing behind me, waiting for me to turn around. The plan had seemed harmless enough. It was a Saturday in late October, the kind of day where the air gets crisp and the light turns golden in that specific, melancholy way that makes you want to explore. My friend Elias had sent me a link to a forum thread about the old textile mill on the edge of town. He'd been going there for months, posting photos of rusted machinery and peeling paint, always claiming it was just for the aesthetic. I'd never been, mostly because I preferred my weekends with a book in a quiet apartment, but Elias knew I liked history, and he knew I trusted him. We had been friends since college, back when our biggest concern was passing organic chemistry. We arrived at the perimeter fence around 4 p.m. The sun was already dipping below the horizon, casting long, jagged shadows across the overgrown grass. The fence was old chain link, rusted at the base, with a gap near the drainage culvert that looked wide enough to squeeze through. Elias didn't hesitate. He stepped over the weeds, his boots crunching on dry leaves, and looked back at me with that familiar, eager grin. "Come on," he said. "It's just an abandoned building. It's not like it's haunted or anything." I followed him, my heart doing a small, nervous flutter that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the knowledge that we were trespassing. The air inside the property smelled of wet earth and stale oil. The mill itself was a massive brick structure, its windows boarded up with plywood that had warped and cracked over decades of weather. It looked less like a ruin and more like a sleeping beast. As we slipped through the gap in the fence, the silence hit me. It wasn't peaceful, it was heavy, pressing against my eardrums. Inside, the ground floor was a cavern of shadows. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light piercing through the boarded windows. Elias led the way, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. He was moving faster than usual, his footsteps echoing sharply off the concrete floor. I tried to keep up, but the debris scattered across the ground made walking difficult. Broken glass crunched under my sneakers, and I had to step carefully around piles of rotting wood. "Check this out," Elias called out from a few yards ahead. He was standing in front of a large, rusted loom, its metal frame twisted and broken. He turned to look at me, but his expression was different. His eyes were wide, unblinking, and there was a sheen of sweat on his forehead despite the chill in the air. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said, feeling a sudden prickle of unease at the back of my neck. "It's creepy." Elias didn't answer. He just stared at me, tilting his head slightly. Then he laughed, a short, sharp sound that seemed too loud in the empty space. "You're always so cautious, man. You're ruining the vibe." I frowned. "I'm just being careful. We shouldn't stay here too long. It's getting dark." He shook his head, a slow, deliberate movement. "No, we're just getting started. I brought something for us." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small, clear plastic bag. Inside were 2 pills. They were blue, small and unmarked. My stomach dropped. "What is that?" I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. "Just a little boost," Elias said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "To help us see the beauty of the decay. Come on, I'll take one first." He popped a pill into his mouth and swallowed it dry, then held the bag out to me. "Take one. It'll make the photos look amazing. You'll feel great." I stared at the bag, my mind racing. I knew Elias was an artist, and I knew he experimented with substances, but I also knew he was a responsible person. This felt wrong. The setting, the urgency, the unmarked pills, it all screamed danger. "No," I said, stepping back. "I'm not taking that. Let's just leave." Elias's face hardened. The friendliness vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. "You're not leaving until we're done. You said you wanted to see the history. This is the history. Take the pill." I said no, I repeated, louder this time. I turned to head back toward the entrance, but Elias moved with surprising speed. He blocked my path, his body tense and rigid. "Don't be a bitch, man. Just take it." I pushed past him, shoving his shoulder. He stumbled back, but instead of falling, he grabbed my arm. His grip was iron tight. I tried to pull away, but he twisted my arm, forcing me to look at him. His eyes were bloodshot, pupils dilated so wide they almost swallowed the iris. "You're not going anywhere," he said, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. "We're going up to the roof. I need to show you the view." Panic surged through me. I kicked out, catching him in the shin, and broke free. I ran toward the door, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. I could hear Elias behind me, his footsteps heavy and fast. He wasn't shouting anymore. He was just following me, silent and relentless. I burst out of the mill and into the cool evening air. The sky was dark now, the stars beginning to peek through. I didn't stop running until I reached my car, parked half a mile down the road. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking so badly I dropped them twice. When I finally got the door open and slid into the driver's seat, I locked it immediately. I sat there for a long time, listening to the silence of the car. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked back toward the mill. It was just a dark silhouette against the night sky, silent and indifferent. I felt a sudden, sickening realization. Elias hadn't just wanted to take drugs with me. He had wanted to isolate me. He had wanted me alone in a place where no one would hear me scream. I started the car and drove away, my eyes fixed on the road ahead. I didn't look back. But as I merged onto the highway, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, my hands still trembling, and saw a text message from Elias. "You forgot your jacket, and I know where you live." I stared at the screen, the blue light illuminating my face in the dark car. The road stretched out ahead of me, empty and endless. I kept driving, but I knew with a cold certainty that I would never truly feel safe again. The mill was just a building, but the threat was real, and it was following me home. The rain was coming down in sheets that night, the kind of relentless, gray drizzle that turns city sidewalks into slick, treacherous mirrors. I wasn't trying to be heroic. I was just bored, and I had spent the last 3 hours scrolling through urban exploration forums, looking for something to do. That's how it usually starts for people like me. We find a location, we check the structural integrity reports, we grab our gear, and we go in. It's supposed to be a game of skill and stealth. I thought I knew the rules. I thought I was the one holding the flashlight. I had chosen the old St. Jude's psychiatric wing on the edge of town. It had been condemned for 20 years, rotting away in the damp air, its windows boarded up with plywood that had long since warped and splintered. The access point was a broken service door in the basement laundry room. I picked the lock with practiced ease, the click of the tumblers sounding loud in the silence. The air inside smelled of wet concrete, mold, and something else, something faintly chemical like antiseptic that had gone stale decades ago. I clicked on my heavy-duty flashlight and stepped inside. At first, it was exactly as I expected. Dust motes danced in my beam. The floors were covered in a layer of gray silt that crunched under my boots. I moved deeper, documenting the decay for my blog. I took photos of the peeling paint, the rusted gurneys, the empty patient rooms with their iron beds still bolted to the floor. It felt safe. It felt routine. The first sign that something was off wasn't immediate. It was subtle. I was on the 3rd floor, walking down the main corridor, when I noticed a faint red light blinking in the darkness near the ceiling. I froze, shining my light toward it. It was a security camera, but not the old, bulky analog kind from the 90s. This was sleek, modern, and clearly powered. It panned slowly, tracking my movement with mechanical precision. I laughed it off in my head. Probably a squatter had rigged up a basic motion sensor to keep thieves away. I kept walking, but my heart rate picked up just slightly. I turned a corner into a nurse's station. The desk was overturned, papers scattered everywhere. As I stepped over the debris, I heard the distinct click hum of an electric door lock engaging. I hadn't touched anything. I turned back toward the corridor I had just come from. The heavy fire door at the end of the hall slammed shut. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I walked back to it, pulling at the handle. It was locked tight. I tried the next door, a stairwell exit. Locked. I tried another corridor. Locked. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at the back of my neck. I started to run, checking every door I passed. All of them were sealed. The layout of the building seemed to shift. I knew I had walked past a window looking out at the parking lot, but now, when I passed that same spot, there was only a solid brick wall. I stopped, breathing hard, my flashlight beam shaking. I was trapped. Not just locked in, but herded. I heard a sound then, faint and rhythmic, the squeak of rubber soles on linoleum. I spun around, aiming my light into the shadows. Nothing, just the dripping of water and the hum of electricity. I decided to climb. If I couldn't go out, I'd go up to the roof. The stairwell doors were reinforced, but I had a crowbar in my pack. I found a maintenance stairwell that seemed slightly ajar. I forced it open and began to climb, my muscles burning. When I reached the 5th floor, I stopped to catch my breath. That's when I saw him. He was standing at the end of the hallway, leaning against a wall, perfectly still. He wore a dark uniform, the kind issued to private security firms, but it was old, ill-fitting. He held a tablet in one hand, his thumb scrolling casually. He didn't look surprised to see me. He didn't look angry. He looked bored. "Lost?" he asked. His voice was calm, devoid of any threat, which made it infinitely worse. "I need to leave," I said, my voice trembling. "Let me out." He shook his head slowly. "No, you can't." "Why?" I demanded, stepping forward. "This is private property, but I'm not stealing anything. I'll leave right now." He tapped his tablet. "Check the door behind you." I turned and ran. I slammed my shoulder against the door I had just come through. It wouldn't budge. I looked through the small, reinforced window. The hallway was empty, but the exit sign was dark. I looked back at the man. He was still leaning against the wall, watching me with detached curiosity. "There are others who came here," he said, his voice carrying easily in the large space. "Before you. They thought they could leave too. They thought they were clever. They tried the vents. They tried the windows. They tried to pick the locks." "Where are they?" I shouted, anger finally overriding my fear. "They're part of the collection now," he said. "The building needs residents to maintain its energy signature, to keep the systems running. It's a symbiotic relationship." I didn't believe him. It sounded like the ramblings of a madman. I charged him, swinging my crowbar. He didn't flinch, he just tapped his screen again. From the ceiling, speakers crackled to life. A high-pitched whine, unbearable and disorienting, blasted through the corridor. I dropped the crowbar, clutching my head, falling to my knees. The pain was blinding, a needle in my brain. I crawled, trying to escape the sound, but the doors around me began to shift. The walls seemed to breathe, the geometry of the room twisting. I saw glimpses of other rooms, rooms that shouldn't exist, filled with people sitting in chairs, staring blankly at walls. They looked exhausted, hollowed out. Then, the sound stopped. I lay on the floor, gasping for air, my vision swimming. The man walked over to me. He didn't kick me, he didn't hit me. He simply crouched down and placed a hand on my forehead. His touch was cold. "Shh," he whispered. "It's easier if you don't fight. The confusion helps. It makes the integration smoother." I tried to scream, but my tongue felt heavy, thick like lead. My limbs wouldn't respond. I watched, paralyzed, as he stood up and pulled a small syringe from his pocket. I tried to roll away, but my body was no longer mine to command. The last thing I saw was his face, calm and serene, as he leaned in close. "The system needs to be reset," he said softly. "There's always a new group coming in next month. They'll need fresh inventory." I felt the prick of the needle. The world didn't go black. It went gray. The edges of my vision blurred, the sounds of the building fading into a distant hum. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I could only watch as he walked away, his footsteps echoing on the empty floor. I heard the sound of a door locking. Then, the soft click of another door opening. Footsteps approaching. New footsteps. Lighter, hurried, confident. The footsteps of someone who thought they were the hunter, not the prey. I wanted to warn them, to scream, to tell them to run. But I had no voice. I was just another piece of furniture in the dark, waiting for the next intruder to arrive, while the caretaker adjusted the lights, ready to welcome them home.